We're back, and we're at lovely Samedan in the Swiss Alps, where we just arrived in our C-152. Our last flight with the C-152 for a considerable while, because it's fun. It's just getting a little bit boring. So what we're doing today is we take our money and we stick it into a new airplane, which will be the Beechcraft Bonanza G36, and because that will require some refinancing of my assets, we're gonna quickly demonstrate this in NeoFly here. So we have just arrived. This was our route from St. Gallen up the Rhine Valley, across the mountains here. That's where we are, and that's where we're gonna keep the Cessna for a while. So in our hangar, we're gonna keep it here with zero fuel. Could repair it. It's pretty new, but slight wear and tear from the most recent flight. So we have $79,000. Reason why we don't have that many is because some of our caviar has gone to shit, because we had to store it in a warehouse, and quite frankly it expired. So doesn't matter. In order to make sure we can have a little bit more fun, I'm gonna throw out my no loans policy, and will get myself into that a little bit. But I'm being responsible, and I'm buying the Bonanza at a drastically reduced cost. So having a look at where NeoFly offers Bonanzas, there's a few airports and they all cost roughly 600,000, and we get it here for 469,000, which is a steal. So we're gonna go here to finance and make use of this functionality, not being all that smart yet. There's a lot to improve here. I feel like with a full multiplayer online kind of functionality, one could actually give out loans that other people can take, make some little extra money on the side, and make sure that not everyone can just, rack up loans as much as they like. So we need a total of like 500,000 or 600,000, because we also want to get some goods from the market and fly them around. Otherwise we have to do missions, and those are not as lucrative. So the trick here is to refresh until you get the 1% loans. Apparently there's a unlimited number of loans you can get. Here's another 144,000, and they expire at some point, like in a week, but that's generally not an issue. So 544,000 we have. We're gonna take one more 1% loan to make sure we can buy some stuff, maybe another one, and then for the next couple of days and flights we're gonna have to start paying this stuff off. No biggie. Let's see what else we have here. Come on. There was one. Here, 150,000. Bingo. Okay, we have 822 bucks. So this is a Class A aircraft. We don't have to go and do the new certification for the twins or the turboprops, which we'll do. in time. This is career mode after all. I bought a brand new Bonanza. Very good. I thought it would have been a used one, the way it was so much cheaper. Okay, so if you buy a new plane, you're gonna have to give it a call sign, and we're gonna stick with the naming scheme. We're gonna basically name the airplane correctly from the country we're buying it from. So Hotel Bravo is the Swiss designator for planes, so like you would have a November in North America or in the UK. So if we ever go and buy a plane somewhere else, we're gonna stick to that naming convention. And then here we're pretty free what to do. Tango Lima, something that I can pronounce, which sometimes is a problem. Okay. Tail number has changed, and we can have a look at what sort of missions we can fly now. So I usually set this to all. Let's see whether there's something interesting. So I'm itching to go to Italy, even though there's usually not many people around in VATSIM. These guys seem to be just generally a bit lazier or less playful. Alternatively, we could also go to Innsbruck from here. Always a nice approach, always worth taking a new plane there. For that, we will have to go and check the market and see if there's anything lucrative. Yeah, let's enter, thanks. Lovi. Actually, yes. So we have drastically more space in the Bonanza. Actually, before we do this, let's not start a mission just yet. Let's just take the thing out for a spin and have a look at how it spins, quite frankly. Okay, so okay, so we did buy it, and they told me it's in the hangar. La la la. I'm drunk already. Walking very slowly. Ah, there she is. Isn't she beautiful? What always strikes me with the Bonanza is how short the wingspan is. I mean, looks kind of right here, but once you sit in the thing, it really feels like it's ridiculously short a wingspan. We have a gear, we can retract it, we even have some sort of a winglet. Not quite sure what that is. There she is, Hotel Bravo 2, Tango Lima. Room for 6 people. It's crazy. It's crazy, it's crazy. Okay, and because this is my almost first time starting up a damn Bonanza, we're gonna take this slowly and follow the just general checklist, at least to some degree. Not everything seems to be possible with the Garmin, the NXI being installed. There's an issue with the engine page, so we can't actually see some of the properties that need to be seen. early on. We did map our controls. Got all 3 axes set up. And before we start, we set all of that stuff to full props, full throttle, and full rich mixture, and then switch on battery number 1. Now, the checklist says now observe things in the engine page, which is dark unless you switch on battery 1. Actually, unless you switch on the avionics master, which technically comes later in the checklist, but we'll do this now anyhow so we can see a little something. Then here's the auxiliary fuel pump, which will run briefly just to get some fuel into the system. And it says in the checklist to listen whether it works. And it does. And then down here, fuel selector, can switch between different tanks. Always the fullest to be selected. So here's fuel pump off. Switch to batteries and alternators on. And then magnetos to start. And here she comes. Set it to roughly between 1000 and 1100 RPM. Here's our parking brake, which luckily was set. Okay, that's 1, and then actually before engine start, one should have switched on the, where is it? These are landing taxi and panel lights. Let's take the panel lights on, make this more visible as well. Good. The nav lights, the beacon, and the strobe. I mentioned this before. NeoFly requires you to have most of these lights on the ground all the time. Technically, that's not what you do. I mean, you don't drive around the airport on the tarmac with the full strobes on. You switch them on before you enter or cross a runway. That would be the normal way to do it. Then we have some AC controls over here. We don't need those. The cowl flap should have been open as well before engine start. These guys, I'm not yet familiar with what I should be doing with those. Here's the de-icing and the pivot heat. So pivot heat we don't really need because it's not that cold, 70 degrees. It's nice to have screens in the aircraft. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the steam pipes, but this is offering way more control. I don't have this fully figured out yet, to be quite frank, but it doesn't matter because what we're doing right now is take the thing for a spin, just have a look at the general behavior of the aircraft. We're pretty high up here at 5,500 feet, so engine performance will be reduced, and our best power will probably be at a mixture of, I don't know actually what it might be, 70-80% rich, definitely not full rich. Here's our trims, aileron and pitch, with nice labeling. So here usually you have pitch trim between 6 and 3 for takeoff, depending on how much stuff you're carrying, obviously. Here comes the taxi light. Okay, and we're just gonna drive this thing out of the hangar for the very first time, assuming the door remains open. Interesting. The parking brake was actually not set before. was it? Am I stuck here? Come on. Hit the brakes. Okay, cool. Let's see if we can slew this thing out of here. How about now? Oh, you gotta be joking. This is one of these bugs. Yeah, okay. And this person being an utter muppet, not knowing what the parking brake looks like or when it is set. Okay, so we should actually still be connected to VATSIM. I am not sure, however, whether the pilot has crapped itself again. No, we're not connected, so we don't need to be connected for this, I don't think. Also, no one is available for ATC coverage. And we just killed the engine. Okay, props to full. Learning this as we go along. I did fly some Barons and some King Airs in X-Plane. But obviously those are modeled quite a bit different, and this is a Bonanza which I've never flown before, so this is all new. Wind coming from the southwest, it seems, so that's actually interesting. Conditions are not that easy. We're going to have quite a hefty crosswind. Visibility is also slightly impaired. Here comes our landing lights for runway crossing. So with the wind from southwest, we will take the airplane to the west over there, over the lakes. We might do a little circuit around the airport as published, but mostly I want to take her out for a spin and try some stalls, power off, power on stalls, some steep turns, some approaches, maybe just one approach, who knows. While we still have some daylight, it is 5 o'clock, 5:30 here. And it's probably not the best place to do these sort of, I don't know, stall tests and things, but hey, we're here, and the thing was cheap, so gotta make the most of it. Wouldn't want to take a first mission without having tried most of the systems and gauged the aircraft performance, behavior. You never know, especially with the short wingspan. I mean, that looks just cut off, quite frankly, as if it was supposed to be longer. And I can imagine that at lower speeds the flight behavior might be actually quite interesting. The Baron certainly has a larger wingspan. Alright, so coming up on holding point for runway runway 21 here. So just to keep the mechanics sharp, switching on the pivot tubes, pivot heat. Not that we need it, but it's just good practice. final is clear, as it would be. Okay, here we go. So, mixture to best performance, probably here. Prop full forward, flaps to takeoff. Here they come. And rotation speed roughly at, actually indicates it here, which is nice. Rotation speed 73. Best climb 84. Best climb 100. Best rate of climb 84, I think. I'm gonna usually add a little bit on top of that, just to keep maneuvering speed safe in the pattern. So here's a little left rudder. Okay, we got airspeed. Center line 50. Here's 60. Here's 70. That's our rotation speed. And let go of the goddamn pedal. Oi. Yeah, that's different. Tapping the brakes, gear up. Lower the nose, gain some airspeed, flaps up. Okay, so we're way beyond the X, close to the Y. VY is 100 knots. Now I don't think we can climb out at VY here because we just don't seem to gain enough altitude. No, she still has a bit of a Cessna feeling to her in a sense that she just climbs like crap. Alright, okay, so this is the official departure route to the west through the gap here, and then slightly to the left across the lake. Below us is St. Moritz, which maybe if I have a camera somewhere I could show. There we go. St. Moritz and the lake, and a whole bunch of other lakes up here as well, which will be our playground. Okay, but engine performance seems to be really quite a disaster at this altitude. Let's try to lean it. Doesn't make too much of a difference at the moment. Props working overtime here. Alright, 7,400 feet. We might need a little bit more, so we're gonna start with a little bit of a coordinated turn in a climb. So let's try and stay at VX here while doing a 180. Yeah, it's very smart doing this in the mountains. Sure this would not be approved. So okay, VY at the moment, so here comes the rudder, gingerly. There's a 20-degree turn, nice altitude, trim it. Okay. Comes the left rudder, roll out of it. Nice. That was good. Okay, in the white band here, that's our flaps maneuvering speed, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so let's head down the valley here and let's try and do an approach. So we're flying below 120, and we're going to put in the full rich mixture props full forward and take our throttle back, simulating an approach. Pitch downwards just a little bit. Here comes the gear. Here comes the first notch of flaps. 88. That's VY, so that should be our ref speed. We're too low. Okay. Too low, we're too slow. Second notch of flaps, just to see what the power requirements are. So that drops us down to 71. That's probably starting to get a bit dangerous now. Okay, let's see what happens if we pull this thing up at low power. Stall territory here. Okay. There she goes. Ailerons neutral, full rudder, opposite direction. And apply the power. Okay. So that was with full flaps, which is very recoverable. Let's climb a little bit more. Get rid of the flaps now. Keep the nose low. And the gears coming up as well. Okay, cool. So for the next thing we need a little bit more altitude. Actually the next thing should be a steep turn. Quite frankly. Use full power in this air. Should really be at more or less 100 knots here for maneuvering speed. Okay, above 100. Here comes the right rudder. Roll it in. Come the ailerons. And we're pulling. Nose is going down. Yikes, that was horrific. What are you doing? Okay, let's try this again. I want to do a stall. I just want to have a more or less coordinated steep turn, just to see how much the nose drops, how much the airspeed drops. We're trimming. Yeah, still we're losing quite a bit here. Alright. But she flies nice, quite a bit less agile than the C-152, it seems. but in general it feels nice. I like it. Okay, let's do a power on stall here. We're at 8,700. Like 3,000 feet below us. Pulling back on the stick. Here's the horn. Which way will she go? Left. Aileron neutral. Oy. Power out. Alright. And power back in. That seems quite a bit more violent than in the Cessna. It has the potential to develop into a full-fledged spin. Pretty sure if you do what you intuitively would do as a new flyer, where you use the ailerons to try and correct instead of keeping it neutral, you're quite possibly inducing a nasty spin in this thing. When it is a lower wing aircraft, obviously it's not like the Cessna, basically hanging in the air. So it's always more likely to stall these airplanes, which incidentally makes them more interesting to fly in the first place. Okay, let's do this again. This time, let's do a stall in a steep turn in kind of traffic pattern configuration. So we might have low airspeed like this. So we have low maneuvering speed like you would have in a traffic pattern. You might have even flaps out like one notch, maybe even the gear. And you'd be at or above 80 knots, I would guess. The other guy to get off final, so you can turn. So then it's your turn to turn final. Here comes the rudder. Might even take some power out. You keep the nose up because you're already too low. Airspeed drops, airspeed drops. And you fall out of the sky. A bit low for the a bit too low to continue this experiment. Hey, what happened to my haze? Okay, so this was basic kind of maneuvers. We'll do one more full power steep turn. Let's see what she takes. Okay, here she goes. Yeah. There she comes out of it. Okay, that needed a little bit more to catch. Looks like she's not just kind of falling to one side or so. She goes overhead and then you're almost inverted if you don't correct this. So that's different behavior from the Cessna for sure. Okay. Yeah, but I like it. It's good. She's not the fastest, but she's more roomy for sure. Feels good. Okay, what are we doing next? We're gonna do a landing. If we're lucky, we still have crosswind. There should be on the PFD here. PFD options, wind number 2 is the preferred option, and we got some stuff from the north. good. Needless to say, all these maneuvers would not be allowed in this airspace, certainly not above the actual airport. Hey, but who cares? Okay, so we're gonna do a nice shallow turn here at 7,500 feet. Turn around and then do a proper landing at VY and land at VX. And I hope these are the right speeds. I'm gonna look this up a little bit more, read some manuals, but it does look like those would be approach and landing speeds. And incidentally, probably also best climb speed or best glide speed. It's usually pretty close. Okay, we're too high. So props full forward, speed 120 at the moment. Take out quite a bit of power. Simulate we're coming out of the Albula arrival route. Why not? Okay, so we need to get below the band here, so 120 or below. Give it an extra 10. Here comes the gear. Gear selected and indicating 3 green, no red. Here comes 1 notch of flaps. Speed was checked. We're fully idle at the moment, just to lose some altitude. Here's 100 knots. I have to look up the actual flap speeds here, but I'm guessing 100 knots is fine for flaps full. And we're waiting to add more power. Landing lights are on. Okay, here's our approach speed. 85-ish or so. Winds from the left. See how much power we need to keep in the flare, or whether we fall from the sky. It's probably best to remove it slowly. So here comes the flare. Power still kind of in. Reducing it. Slight crab. Actually, a bit more than a slight crab. Shit. Yeah. She bounces. Ailerons in the wind. Nope, nope, nope. This needs some more training. Flaps up. Pedals are too sensitive. 70, rotate. Positive rate, tap the grade. Brakes, gear up. Flaps are up. Official traffic pattern goes to the right at first. So these are the scary maneuvers now, where you have literally no airspeed. You're forced to make a very steep turn in a valley. So only use rudder very gently. Modest amount. We can't get over 78 here. It's a bit scary. But I've hoped for a little bit more performance than that. There we go. And now we hug the mountain on the right side for the pattern. squeezed. Is this right? Only 100 knots. Flying level. Okay, gears up, flaps are up. I don't understand. Okay, so the thing I noticed is we need to keep the power in for quite a bit. I need to trim more for the flare, and I need to make sure that I'm ready to correct the wind on the ground and put the ailerons into the wind. So automatically pushing the stick to the left, but then also make sure the rudder is doing the right thing. It's very easy to start correcting with the ailerons and then just take your feet off the rudders. That's what happened just now. That's why I jumped to the right. Okay, it's getting a little bit too dark to do these kind of stunts. So this will be our full stop landing. Where's the lights? Where can I change the lights? Okay, panel lights, but not the floodlights. That's good. Okay, let's do that turn again. Turn, quite steep. Okay, slowly rolling out of it. Getting across the river and power's coming out. We're always too high. There we go. So this time we put the gear down earlier. 120 would probably be adequate. Gear down. Speed checks. Flaps. Flaps full. Landing lights are on. Gear is down and indicating. And we're trimming. This one a bit faster, 80, 88 or so. Like even in the TBM you would have like 85 to 90 as final approach speed. And this thing has much less of a wing, it feels. It seems to be falling out of the sky with no power. Okay, 87, still too high, 86. Trim. Reducing power. Where's the power now? 2200. Okay. Let's keep the power in until we're flaring. Don't forget the trim. Okay, trimming. Power slowly coming out. Here's the flare. Again. This needs a hell of a lot of rudder. Unexpectedly so. Okay, well, flaps are up, and what else? Yeah, flaps are up. And we're missing the exit. There it goes. Here come the taxi lights. Search of landing lights. No more strobes, please. Thank you. Okay, still a bit messy and shaky. Gonna be interesting to do our first mission with that thing. Just to remember, we're still doing the NeoFly survival mode, so if anything goes wrong because we don't know how our aircraft works, then that will be our demise. Okay, at least she handles nicely on the ground. I like how smooth she turns. The Cessna was horrific. Okay, so take prop and mixture back to lean and idle, and taxi lights coming out. Don't need the external lights. Pitot heat. Magnetos. Cowl flaps. Alternators off. Lights. Yeah. It's a good thing we do this in the evening. Avionics off. Thank you, don't need that. Alternators were off all this time. What the hell? Or did I already switch them off? Yeah, so that's not how you do it. There you go. First little flight with the Bonanza G36. Yes, I think this will be good. And I can't wait to fly a little bit more IFR. Because out of this place, gotta be lucky to always get in and out VFR. Right, so that's it for now. A mission coming up next in a separate video, so hang on tight. See you.